Welcome back, and this is the last session of the day. So we try, to keep it energetic, and we're going to start with this live debate. We have on the stage tonight Gertrude Stanley. She is the Deputy Director at Norwegian Ministry of Trade, Industry and Fisheries. Is it Gertrude or Gertrude? Gertrude. Okay, yeah, it's not that bad. We have John Hardin. Is the Executive Director, Office of Science, Technology, Innovation, North Carolina Department of Commerce. And Guy Viel, that is replacing Mr. Georges Farah. We had a personal impeachment. Guy is the CEO from the CRBM in Quebec in Rimouski. So the purpose of the final debate tonight is to see how we're going to build an effective international cooperation to strengthen the blue economy. This is kind of cool because this is how BioMarine is functioning, and the more we team up, the more we bring people together, the more business we create. And on the stage we have three important countries. So we have Canada, we have US, and we have Norway, which are three major players. And I would like to start maybe with a quick intro. So I'm going to start, ladies first, with Gertrude, and I'm going to ask you, Gertrude, to tell me. It's going to be very difficult in 2 minutes to tell the people how good you are and all your accomplishments you've done so far. So try to pitch that.
Okay. Thank you. And I must say it's really nice to finally be at the BioMarine Convention. It's after following this convention from distance for so many years. So it's really nice to be here. And finally exploring the BioMarine community. Well, as you said, my name is Gertrude Stanley. I work as a director in the Ministry of Trade and Industry and Fisheries in Norway, working mainly with research and innovation policies and marine research in particular. I've also been working with the development of a Norwegian biotechnology strategies, where of course marine biotechnology is a very central part. And I'm also in a board of the European Joint Programming Initiatives, JPI Oceans, or Healthy and Productive Seasons Oceans. And excuse my voice, it's certainly not because I was drinking whiskey last night. Well, thank you.
Good. It took me 8 years to know Gertrude, and she's very knowledgeable, and I hope that we discover more talent during the conversation. John, yes. You were last year in Cascais. You see how the blue economy is teaming up, and it was a very interesting transition we had. So can you tell us, why you're still here, talking about the blue economy this year, and who you are?
Yes, I am John Hardin. I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Science, Technology, and Innovation in the North Carolina Department of Commerce. And earlier this morning in the opening session, you heard from Christopher Chung, and he is the head of what's known as the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina. And the way it works in North Carolina is we have kind of a dual structure. We have a Department of Commerce, which is what I'm in, which is the traditional economic development, and that's the way economic development has traditionally been done in North Carolina. And then we have a relatively recent organization, the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, and that's what Christopher Chung heads up. That is essentially a spin-out of the North Carolina Department of Commerce, and that's really kind of the marketing and outreach functions of the department, because it works primarily with businesses, and so it's a 501c3 and not a government organization. I'm in the government side of the economic development shop, and that's because my office does policy development with our governor and our legislature, and also works through giving out grants to small businesses. And both of those functions, granting as well as policy, are government functions. And we work in the whole science, technology, and innovation economy. We don't do a lot of international work in my office, but we work with a lot of the other partners who do that. And I'm here because BioMarine is a huge part of North Carolina's economy, and we want it to be an even bigger part. And I learned an incredible amount in Cascais last year, And we also wanted to see if Wilmington could beat out Qashqai for the best conference location.
That's a challenge.
Yes. It is a
Good.
challenge.
The third panelist is Guy Viel. When you say marine biotech in Quebec, the natural name that will come out is Guy Viel. So Guy, can you tell us again who you are?
Okay. I am the executive director of the Marine Biotechnology Research Center, located in Rimouski, and also member of the board of a cluster Technopole Maritime of Quebec, also member of the cluster linked to maritime strategy in the starting in 2000 for some specific territories in Quebec. Now I am mandated by Georges Farah. Georges Farah is Associate General Secretary of the first Global Maritime Strategy of Quebec that cover all the territories of Quebec. So when I had to speak with Georges Farah at the beginning of the last week about how to prepare the panel, and they asked me a lot of the information on marine biotechnology, and Mr. Farah, I have to delete, for a personal reason, to not be here. And they asked me to replace him because we were involved with the community in Rimouski to put in place marine biotechnology in Quebec in collaboration with university and different private companies. So I'm in because I'm involved since 2000 in this activity, with increasing activities and contribution of government of Quebec, government of Canada, and also private companies.
Good.
Thank you.
The stage is set. So now let's start with the interesting question. So quick question, quick answers. That's the rule. We're going to start with Gertrude. What is the key asset to potentially attract blue business in your country? The key asset. What is that?
Well,
Quick answer.
okay. As you all know, the oceans are very important for Norway. I think that the seafood cluster, the shipping industry, and the oil and gas industries are the three main industrial clusters in Norway. And Norway is the world's second largest exporter of seafood. So the economic history of Norway is the history of the oceans. And you're asking about the key asset, and I think I should say it is the ocean itself. I mean, the Norwegian oceans are quite large. Actually, they're 6 times the size of our land mass. And in terms of marine living resources, they are among the most productive in the world. So you could say that Norway has been lucky, but I also have to emphasize, if you allow me, that we have also made some good decisions and developed sound policies. And for Norway, it has always, or it's been important that we should manage our resources in accordance with nature. We should manage in a way that future generations have the same opportunity to manage or to harvest from our seas and oceans. And we have also invested in research and development, having, I would say, a world-class research infrastructure. And we have also a general good or high level of skills and expertise in Norway, good cooperation between the private and public sector, and lastly and not least, we have world-leading industries in Norway, investing in new solutions and market opportunities.
Can I add one? The Norwegian. They are very nice people.
Yeah. Thank you.
John, what is the key asset to attract blue business in North Carolina?
The key asset in North Carolina, I would say, is our economic development infrastructure in our system. And it's from the outside, it can look like a fairly disaggregated and somewhat disorganized system, and that's because we don't have a single organization that leads it. We have multiple organizations. But from the inside, and I think to several people on the outside, they see the strength of that. And that is, it's a division of labor. It's where each respective organization has its own area of expertise, and as long as we work well together and we are transparent to the outside world, that can be a real strength, and that's the system that we've tried to develop here. So for example, in the audience now, we have representatives from the North Carolina Biotechnology Center, from the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, from the Small Business and Technology Development Center, the Department of Commerce, as well as the Marine Biotechnology Center of Innovation. All of those are involved in economic development, but we all know each other, we all know what our strengths are, we all know what our weaknesses are, and when we can't handle something, we know who in that team to refer something to. And so it's a well-functioning team. It's not too hard to navigate, and I think it's a team that not many other states have.
Teamwork. Okay. Guy.
Okay, the key assets is the St. Lawrence River. It's one of our major key assets in Quebec province. It represents from the Great Lakes to its mouth. The St. Lawrence River spans 3,200 kilometers. That means 2,000 miles. This is one of the world's richest marine biodiversities. And linked to that, this is an access to the interior, the North American continent, through the St. Lawrence Seaway, offering undeniable advantage for European business wishing to broaden their operation in Canada and in the United States. Also linked to the St. Lawrence River, there is a blue business, a fantastic innovation community active since several decades, linked to the blue biotech in the field of that cover at least 7 universities, different colleges, 3 research institutions dedicated to the blue science. So we have linked to the St. Lawrence River, a know-how in private blue biotech development based on at least 70 fisheries and seafood transformation industries, at least 20 private companies active in the field of blue biotech for the market of pharmaceuticals, cosmetic, nutraceutical, biotech, aquaculture, and now clean tech. Now we see different larger companies that have started innovation initiatives using blue biotech tools in Quebec or product in research and development, for example, with microalgae and microorganisms.
You're going to ruin my schedule, with those long answers. Let's go straight to the point. So let's move. I'll stay with you, Guy, because we're talking about, the launch of the Blue Strategy. Tell me, what are your priorities now? And looking abroad, which country, which region, which are on the priority list? Okay, give us some clue.
Yes, okay. The priority list that we have in the Quebec strategy, maritime strategy, include different objectives. The search for foreign partners wishing to participate in Quebec's economic development. The identification of export markets for goods and services produced by Quebec firms. The search for technological partners to enable Quebec to become more competitive at the international level. At the conclusion of international alliance and partnership to enable Quebec private sector and institution to develop the best business practices, innovation practices, the choice of more appropriate technologies, or to offer our technologies and innovation practice coming from our center. So linked to the needs of the private sectors in Quebec to do that, our priority list currently is oriented particularly, but not exclusively, to the USA states and all European countries. It is why we will have the signature tomorrow afternoon at the Biomarines of an agreement between the Marine Biotechnology Center of Innovation and the Marine Biotech Research Center in view to promote and exchange technology and services for the private sectors. It is why, also, for example, we were invited with Mathis Institute in Iceland to join a consortium of 34 European partners worldwide, including USA, Canada, China, for a project of blue sustain that we deposited together at the stage 2 of Horizon 2020. It's a sustainable development in marine biotechnology. It's just an example to tell you that we're open to different partnerships worldwide.
And this is the spirit of Biomarine. I'm glad to hear that tomorrow we're going to have the signature, because we've been working, with North Carolina, Quebec, for a long time, and this agreement is really important for what we aim to do at the global level.
Starting with Halifax Biomarines.
Absolutely, yeah. Gertrude, coming back to you. So Norway is the leading country for marine resources, but how do you envisage the mid and long-term strategy to keep up with this leadership? This is, very difficult to keep at the top of the pyramid. And is the interaction between the state and how do you see the collaboration between private and public sectors? Because it's kind of complicated to understand the math and the organization in your country. Can you tell us more about this? Take your time.
Yeah, I can try. You were asking about strategies and priorities in Norway, and I think if you're looking at strategies, I think we certainly need to follow this principle that we need to have a sustainable use of our seas and oceans. And then I always think we need to invest in research. I mean, I'm quite fascinated by the fact that we still know so little about our oceans. And that's quite surprising, given the fact that the oceans cover more than 70% of the planet's surface, and its development started many million years prior to that on land. And some people say that we even know more about the surface of Mars than we do know about the bottom of our seas and oceans. So I certainly think that we need to invest in research and development in order to increase our knowledge of our seas and oceans and to explore further business opportunities. And thirdly, I've also argued that we need more international collaboration. I mean, the oceans are facing many threats as well. We see the climate change, pollution, and sound management of the ecosystems. These are really real problems that causes, and it's very difficult actually to understand the causes and the effects of all these changes. So, in order to look into this, we need to cooperate, and for the best of us all. So both nations, researchers, and businesses need to
But that
cooperate.
means that you can do even more than what you're doing right now, because Norway, when we talk about Norway in our sector, you're pretty much everywhere. From Mozambique to South Africa to Chile, China, you're all over the world. So what is your specific angle in increasing research? You mean more partnership with the private sector or more academic research?
Well, Norway is a small country up in the north. We have only 5 million inhabitants. I think it's half the population of the state of North Carolina. So Norway needs to cooperate in order to develop our knowledge about our seas and oceans. And but in Norway we are arguing that we need to strengthen also the national budget for research and development, and in particular also that the private sector need to increase its investments in research and development.
Okay. John, when we talk about North Carolina, immediately our thought goes to the triangle, and the triangle represents a lot of companies. So you have a strong ag food industry, but how do you foresee the mutation, towards the blue economy? Because now you're focusing a lot on the biotech itself and the ag food industry. What's going to happen in the future?
Well, I don't know if I can predict the future with a high degree of certainty, but here's how I think it will play out, or at least how we're focused on it at the moment. The North Carolina Biotechnology Center, as you've heard mentioned several times today, is one of the great strengths of this state, and it was started by the board that I work for, the Board of Science, Technology, and Innovation, more than 30 years ago. The board doesn't run it now, but it did help come up with that idea. And one of the strengths of North Carolina, and you all have heard this today also in the meeting, is that we are pretty pioneering on a lot of fronts. And to reach out 30 years ago when people barely knew what biotechnology was and come up with the idea for a biotechnology center was pretty progressive. And we've taken similar progressive actions in recent years around ag bio and around marine bio. And both of those are offshoots of the biotechnology center. And the importance of a focus, a concentrated focus, as well as a sustained focus, cannot be underestimated. These are not short-term plays. These are long-term plays that build on relationships and they build on existing strengths. And North Carolina is very strong in agriculture. Historically it has been and it still is. It's very strong in biotechnology. And by merging those two into a sustained initiative, that's an incredibly smart move. And if you go to the Biotechnology Center's website, you will see a whole focus, an initiative on ag bio. They have a section called the Ag Biosphere that has a lot of incredibly useful information about the strengths of North Carolina and the goals of North Carolina. And we want to thank you for bringing this convention here to North Carolina, because we were focusing on biomarine already, but this has increased our focus. And that's the main point I want to make, is just the importance of focus. You tend to achieve what you focus on, and if you're not focused on it, you likely won't achieve it. And we're focused in North Carolina on biomarine, on agriculture, and on bioagriculture.
Let me ask an additional question. The more I'm listening to you, the more I think we can learn, from previous experience. And since you have been, part of biomarine for a long time, what did you learn, from the previous experience and the collaboration we've established between Norway, Portugal, Quebec, and Brittany is working all over? So, what can you learn from this kind of experience in terms of international collaborations?
And international work is not my area of expertise, but one thing that I think is critical for any relationship is, number one, there has to be a good sharing of information in open ways and transparent ways, and this conference achieves that. And there needs to be just a level of trust and understanding between people. And some people will think in modern times that, with information technology, that maybe we don't need to get together in person, and maybe we don't need to spend money on receptions on battleships and spending time going out for drinks after the meeting. But I would say that those people are wrong, because this is about relationships and trust. And I would say, don't take this the wrong way, but I would say that the reception last night was probably as important, if not more important, than a lot of the things that are happening right here today during the more substantive part of the meeting. Because people met each other last night, and they spoke in open ways. Absolutely. Which paved the way for the more detailed discussions that they're having today. And so there needs to be a basic level of trust and understanding and good sharing of information. And I think those are the foundations of a good relationship.
It's what we call the biomarine alchemy, the side effects. Yeah.
And I think my wife would say that's the good basis for a marriage too, is information and trust. She tells me repeatedly to tell her more things.
Correct. Guy, very quickly, Quebec has always been, very active from political point of view for development of biotech, and it goes way back. Can you share with us some of the key tools that you're going to use in the new strategy to foster the marine biotech and achieve, this international cooperation?
Yes, Pierre, thank you. Yes, 15 years ago in 2000, there was a visionary project. The Quebec started a strategy named Plein Cap sur la Mer, or right. If we can translate it well, it's like full sights on the sea. And they start in some parts of Quebec Maritime with different organizations around that to try to develop the blue biotech and other development. So the key tools linked to the maritime strategy of Quebec that cover all the global territories of Quebec, that cover, for example, support and rely on marine biotechnology through organizations like CRBM or Merinov and the Institut des Sciences de la Mer, Université du Québec à Rimouski, maintain 15 million in funding over the next 3 years to support fishing and aquaculture industry, we have to begin by our institution to be able to work worldwide. So that's begin like that. Broaden research and innovation carry out in Quebec. In particular, the strategy will promote opportunities for scientific collaboration, especially through the establishment of the Réseau Québec Maritime. It's a news of last month. The maritime strategy will also foster opportunities for the international collaboration, in particular through the establishment of the Institut France-Québec on the maritime question, with a budget of 2015-2016 of 1.1 millions, provide 4.1 millions in direct financial assistance to support innovation projects, especially in the marine biotechnology sector, promote innovation, research, and the establishment of new markets in the biological marine resource sector. That's mean set aside 1 million per year for 5 years from Export Québec program, exportation to support the development of markets for Quebec firms within the areas of activities covered by maritime strategy, including marine biotech, and produce a strategy to attract direct foreign investment in Quebec in collaboration, for example, with government departments and agencies, including Ministère de l'Économie et de l'Innovation, Ministère des Relations Internationales, and Investissement Québec.
Good. We're almost at the end of this discussion, and that's too short, of course, but I'd like you to look at our audience online. And what will be, in 1 minute, the selling pitch you're going to make to attract, those investors, those little companies, those potential partnerships? What will be the best thing you can say to those people to say, well, you have to come to my country, you have to come to my region, because, this is the best way to achieve your international development? What you're going to say, Gertrude, first?
Well, I certainly think that the future is blue, and that the oceans, they provide answers to some of the great challenges of over time. Bioactive compounds from the seas and oceans are important sources for new feed sources, new products for health, and also even cosmetics. And we all know about the benefits of eating seafood. So I think certainly this is a sector with huge potential. And but further development need to be based on a sustainable development, and I think also that we need to cooperate. Nations, researchers, and businesses need to cooperate.
Thank you, Gertrude. Guy.
Yes. Quebec can rely on outstanding maritime assets found in different regions of the world, which can further contribute to the collective wealth of society in economic, environmental, and social terms. It's sustainable development. Many activities and numerous development opportunities are now in progress in Quebec, including the opportunity to take advantage of recent advances in the Quebec domains of the marine biotechnologies. We invite all partners in the maritime sector worldwide to benefit with us from the numerous opportunities that the 2015-2020 action plan of the Quebec Maritime Strategy offers. Thank you very much to all of you.
John, you're the host. What will be the conclusion? How do you attract people come to North Carolina?
North Carolina. Well, I would like to start more broadly than that and say that human beings have been exploiting, in a good sort of way, the ocean since the beginning of time. Whether it's for food or for medicinal materials, things like that, we've been doing it for a long time. But the amount of untapped potential in the blue economy is much greater than the amount of tapped potential. And all of us have a stake in that. And North Carolina would like to play its part to do that, and to do it in a way that's cooperative with others. Because there's one thing that ties together all of the nations in the world, and that is the ocean. In some ways, we all are touching the same water. And what goes in and comes out in one place affects what goes in and goes out in another place. This probably sounds cheesy, but it's true. And North Carolina has certain assets that are distinctive to North Carolina that may not be distinctive and common in Norway or in Canada. And because of that division of resources, we have to work together in order to move forward. And so we need to exchange information, we need to trust each other, and we need to work for the common good. And North Carolina would like to be a partner in that.
Thank you, John. North Carolina was first in flight. We hope they can be, the first in the blue economy. That will conclude our day, for the first Biomarine convention in Wilmington. We come back tomorrow. We're going to have a very nice time now with all our attendees on site. And we'll drink for you, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning online. Thank you.